Hello everybody, and welcome back to Who in History. Today I'll be discussing Giuseppe Garibaldi, the man who revolutionized Italy into unification and who is known for the famous expedition of the Thousand. Enjoy the video and make sure to leave a like if this entertained and informed you. Giuseppe Garibaldi was born on July 4, 1807, in Nice, a port city that at the time belonged to the French Empire but later returned to the Kingdom of Sardinia. He grew up in a family of modest means. His father, Domenico Garibaldi, was a fisherman, and his mother, Rosa Raimondi, managed the household. From an early age, Giuseppe was drawn to the sea, fascinated by the ships that arrived in Nice harbor. His parents intended for him to enter the priesthood, but he resisted this path and instead pursued maritime training. By his teens, he had already begun working as a sailor, and in his early 20s, he earned the qualification of Master Mariner. This profession exposed him to different cultures, broadened his horizons, and shaped his cosmopolitan outlook, while also giving him practical skills in navigation and leadership that would later serve him in military campaigns. The political context of Garibaldi's youth was turbulent. The Napoleonic Wars had reshaped Europe, and the Congress of Vienna restored conservative monarchs across the continent. The Italian peninsula remained fragmented into various states, many under foreign domination or dynastic rule. Nationalist and liberal movements were emerging, calling for independence, constitutional government, and, in some circles, the unification of Italy. As a young sailor, Garibaldi came into contact with these revolutionary ideas, particularly through Giuseppe Mazzini, the Genoese intellectual who founded the movement known as Young Italy. Mazzini preached the cause of a united, republican Italy, free of foreign control. Garibaldi encountered these ideas in the early 1830s and was deeply inspired. In 1833, Garibaldi met Mazzini in Marseille and formally joined Young Italy. He quickly committed himself to revolutionary activity. The following year, he took part in a failed uprising against the Kingdom of Sardinia. Condemned to death in absentia for his involvement, Garibaldi fled into exile. This marked the beginning of a long period of wandering that would shape his career as both a soldier and an adventurer. He traveled first to South America, where he would spend over a decade and gain experience in guerrilla warfare. Arriving in Rio de Janeiro in 1836, Garibaldi soon became involved in local revolts. He joined the Ragamuffin War in the southern Brazilian province of Rio Grande do Sul, which sought independence from the Brazilian Empire. Garibaldi offered his skills as a sailor and military leader to the rebels and helped organize their naval forces. During this conflict, he met Ana Maria de Jesus Ribeiro, better known as Anita, a young woman of extraordinary courage and energy. They married and she became his lifelong companion, fighting alongside him in many campaigns. Anita embodied the same ideals of freedom and struggle that drove Giuseppe, and their partnership became legendary. In the early 1840s, Garibaldi and Anita moved to Uruguay, where he joined the defense of Montevideo during the Uruguayan Civil War. He organized the Italian Legion, a volunteer force of expatriates, and led them in battles against forces loyal to Argentina's dictator Juan Manuel de Rosas. Garibaldi's exploits in Uruguay gained him a reputation as a daring and charismatic leader. His distinctive red shirts, adopted as part of the Legion's uniform, would later become a symbol of his followers in Italy. His blend of audacity, improvisation, and genuine devotion to the cause of liberty attracted attention beyond South America, and he began to be seen as a romantic revolutionary figure. By 1848, revolutionary upheaval spread across Europe. The wave of uprisings known as the Springtime of Nations reached Italy, where nationalists and liberals rose against established rulers. Garibaldi seized the opportunity to return to his homeland after years abroad. With a band of followers, he offered his services to the provisional government in Milan during the First Italian War of Independence, in which the Kingdom of Sardinia attempted to expel Austrian forces from northern Italy. Although the Sardinian army suffered defeat, Garibaldi's presence inspired many, and he continued to fight in the cause of Italian freedom. In 1849, Garibaldi played a central role in the defense of the short-lived Roman Republic, established after revolutionaries overthrew papal rule. Leading volunteers, he fought valiantly against French forces sent by Napoleon III to restore Pope Pius IX. Garibaldi's wife Anita accompanied him during this campaign, but she tragically died near Ravenna while fleeing with him after the fall of Rome. Her death devastated Garibaldi, but he pressed on, continuing his fight against overwhelming odds. He managed a daring escape through central Italy, evading Austrian and papal troops, though many of his companions were killed or captured. Exiled once more, Garibaldi spent the 1850s traveling widely. He went to the United States, where he briefly worked in a Staten Island candle factory, then sailed as a merchant captain, visiting places as far as Peru, China, and Australia. These wanderings reinforced his reputation as a global figure of liberty. Yet his thoughts remained fixed on Italy. He maintained contact with nationalist networks and awaited another chance to strike against foreign domination. That opportunity came in the late 1850s, as the Kingdom of Sardinia, under Prime Minister Count Camillo di Cavour, maneuvered diplomatically and militarily to unify Italy under the House of Savoy. Garibaldi returned to Italy and in 1854 commanded a corps of volunteers known as the Cacciatori delle Alpi, Hunters of the Alps, during the Second Italian War of Independence. Fighting alongside Sardinian and French forces against Austria, Garibaldi's men won notable victories in northern Italy, further enhancing his fame. However, tensions soon emerged between Garibaldi, who remained a committed Republican, and Cavour, who sought unification under a constitutional monarchy. Despite their differences, both recognized the need to cooperate for the broader nationalist cause. Garibaldi's most celebrated campaign occurred in 1860, when he led the Expedition of the Thousand. With a volunteer force of about 1,000 men, mostly young idealists, he sailed from Quarto near Genoa to Sicily, where a revolt against Bourbon rule had broken out. Landing at Marsala, Garibaldi proclaimed himself dictator in the name of Victor Emmanuel II, King of Sardinia. His "Red Shirts," as his followers were called, scored remarkable victories against larger, better-equipped Bourbon forces. Within months, they captured Palermo and pushed across Sicily. Crossing the Strait of Messina, Garibaldi's forces advanced through southern Italy, culminating in the capture of Naples. The campaign electrified Europe and made Garibaldi a hero of popular imagination. Yet it also posed political challenges. Garibaldi favored proclaiming a republic, while Cavour and the monarchy insisted on unification under Savoy. To avoid civil war among the nationalists, Garibaldi met Victor Emmanuel II near Tino in October 1860 and symbolically handed over his conquests. This act, known as the Meeting of Tino, paved the way for the unification of most of Italy under the Kingdom of Sardinia, soon to be renamed the Kingdom of Italy. Garibaldi retired to his farm on the island of Caprera, though he remained a powerful symbol and was far from finished with political and military involvement. In the following years, Garibaldi continued to champion causes of liberty, often clashing with the Italian government. In 1862, he organized an unauthorized march on Rome, still under papal rule protected by French troops. His aim was to complete unification by making Rome the capital. However, his volunteers were confronted by the Italian army at Aspremont in Calabria, where Garibaldi was wounded and taken prisoner. He was eventually released, but the incident revealed the tensions between his revolutionary zeal and the cautious diplomacy of Italy's leaders. Garibaldi re-emerged during the Third Italian War of Independence in 1866, when Italy allied with Prussia against Austria. Leading his volunteers in the Trentino region, he fought the Austrians in a series of battles, most notably at Bezzecca. After achieving success, he received orders to halt his advance, to which he famously responded with a single word, "Obbedisco," I obey. This phrase epitomized his loyalty to the national cause even when it conflicted with his personal ambitions. In 1867, Garibaldi once again attempted to capture Rome, but his forces were defeated by papal and French troops at the Battle of Mentana. It was only after the withdrawal of French forces during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870 that Italian troops finally entered Rome, completing unification. By then, Garibaldi's role was more symbolic than direct, but his long struggle for Rome had left an enduring mark. Garibaldi also took an interest in causes beyond Italy. In 1870, during the Franco-Prussian War, he offered his services to the French Republic and commanded volunteers in the Vosges, fighting against German forces. His commitment to liberty and republicanism extended across borders, and he was celebrated internationally as a defender of oppressed peoples. He corresponded with progressive figures around the world, including Abraham Lincoln, who had offered him a commission during the American Civil War, though Garibaldi declined. In his later years, Garibaldi increasingly focused on writing and life on Caprera. He authored memoirs and political writings that reflected his lifelong commitment to liberty, democracy, and social justice. He supported women's rights and opposed clerical influence in politics, expressing views ahead of his time. His health declined due to injuries sustained in battle and the strain of decades of campaigning. He remained a revered figure in Italy, though sometimes a controversial one, as monarchists and republicans vied to claim his legacy. Giuseppe Garibaldi died on June 2, 1882, at the age of 74. His death was mourned across Italy and beyond, as he had become an international symbol of revolutionary struggle and national liberation. His body was laid to rest on the island, in a simple grave as he had wished. Garibaldi's life embodied the ideals and contradictions of the 19th century, a man of action and ideals, a soldier who fought across continents, a revolutionary who compromised with monarchy for the sake of duty. His red shirt, his daring campaigns, and his charisma made him one of the most recognizable figures of his time. Even after his death, Garibaldi remained a cultural icon. Monuments to him were erected in Italian cities, and his name entered popular memory as the hero of two worlds, reflecting his exploits in both South America and Europe. His image was celebrated by Republicans, nationalists, and later even monarchists, though each interpreted his legacy differently. Internationally, he was admired by figures of the liberal and democratic movements of the 19th century, and his legend inspired subsequent generations seeking national unity or freedom from oppression.